OpenAI adds updated internet data to ChatGPT. Amazon doubles down on robotics to make its deliveries even faster. And new VR headsets are causing the return of the glass hole. Those stories and more on this episode of Today in Tech. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. The man behind the screens in the corner is Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hey, what's up?
All right. So it's been a while, so let's catch up on some news. The ChatGPT company, OpenAI, formally launched its internet browsing feature to ChatGPT. This was about 3 weeks after reintroducing the feature in beta after several months in hiatus. Basically, the big dig against ChatGPT was all of its data was current up to September 2021. So anything that had happened in the world after September 2021, the AI didn't know what to do with that. So you couldn't go on to ChatGPT and ask it like, "Hey, who won the Super Bowl in 2022 or 2023?" It was like
I think this
know.
is it in action right here.
Yeah, I can't see that, but you tell me what it looks like.
It's just
okay, that's the screenshot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a video.
So, it was basically useless as a real-time search engine. And meanwhile, Microsoft integrated it into Bing with the help of OpenAI. So most of the powered by Bing stuff that you can get search engine results powered by GenAI and Bing. And then Google came out with Bard. And so it felt like for a while that ChatGPT itself was a little bit behind the times. But now they've figured all this stuff out and they're now adding it in. So if you were only going to ChatGPT, you can now be as current as everybody else.
Right.
So I just think it was interesting. Also, you can it will now adhere to site owners that say "don't crawl me" in the robots.txt file. So if you have content that you don't want the AI to learn to put into its own large language model, you can now it'll.
You just say, "Don't crawl me."
It's almost like, don't crawl me. Wow. Kind of like what Google does too.
Interesting.
So the AI, the Gen AI stuff, I think it's integrating, and I think that they're eventually going to integrate DALL-E 3, which is their image generating platform tool. Mm-hmm. That's going to eventually go public. I'm really considering paying the $20 a month to try it out because the DALL-E 3 apparently gets numbers and letters right, whereas before it would just if like I had something like if I asked it to draw a picture of a podcast host with a beard above a sign that says Tech Talk, this part right here, it wouldn't be able to say Tech Talk correctly. It would be like T say Y BL or this mishmash. Have you tried it? Have you tried it with numbers and letters and things like that?
No.
Okay.
No,
yeah. So I think it's an improvement because then you'll be able to now integrate text with the image generation features. They did it with, you can see DALL-E 3 with Bing, but it's still not as good as what you would get from Midjourney. And I think I'd rather just use DALL-E 3 on my own from ChatGPT. So that's why I'm considering that. And I wish that Midjourney would do better with letters and numbers too, but they haven't gotten there yet either. I did want to bring up one point about some of these guardrails that are being put on ChatGPT. Is another anecdote. So I was looking, I was on Bard, the Google search engine, the other day, and I was asking it for recipes for making a martini. Just some interesting. I wanted to see if I could make a martini with cranberry juice, for example, or something like that. And the guardrails wouldn't let me. It just came back with the answer of I'm not designed to do that. I'm not. It didn't even say that like, oh, you're underage or we can't give out alcoholic recipes.
That's probably why. That's probably why.
I'm convinced
they're just
that
not going to openly say it.
Yeah, like it's like if you were a teenager or younger trying to look for, how do I make a Manhattan,
right.
Or how do I make a Cosmopolitan? And I mean, if I went to regular Google, I'll bet you I could find the recipe for that. So I don't know why they feel like ChatGPT can't tell me or create a drink recipe for me. I think I can go to Bing and do it.
Yeah, I mean, you can go on the internet and ask it anything, and you'll be able to find an answer. But I think they're just trying to be safe.
I think they're just trying to be overly cautious. So
yeah.
So that was the big news from OpenAI. I think that will put them back. I mean, there are people that probably still think that they are the top provider right now of all of these Gen AI tools.
OpenAI.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I hear most of the news from anyway.
I told you I was writing like an about section.
You're telling me offline, but go ahead and tell our audience of hundreds of people.
I suck at writing. I mean, I am not a writer.
Yeah.
Absolutely not a writer. I can't write for my life. But I'm putting this website together, and I'm like, I need to write an about section.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I allotted a Sunday afternoon to do this.
Yep.
A couple hours. Again, because I can't write.
Right.
I maybe will write one word a minute, or one word 5 minutes, whatever. Very, 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 very slowly. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna see what all the commotion is about with ChatGPT, and I decided to put in a prompt.
Did you use it from the actual ChatGPT OpenAI site? So you got an account with them, and okay, good.
Open up an account.
Okay, so you didn't necessarily need the newer data.
No.
Right.
No,
okay.
No. So I put in the prompt. I'm like, okay, this company does this, and we provide this. And I hit enter, and it put out like a 8-paragraph mission statement.
Yeah.
Of what we do, who we are, and why we do the things that we do.
Right.
For this website.
Right.
And I was blown away. So I looked at the rest of my day, and I'm like, well, I have 2 hours and 45 minutes left that I allotted myself to do this. So I can kind of do whatever I want now. But
you did read through it.
Seconds.
You did read through it and edit it and change some things, because I saw the output, and it did repeat itself a couple of times.
Yeah, like I removed some stuff that I didn't want in there, and but for the most part, it was like very, very usable. But after having done that, it does make me think that if it pulled this information from someone else or from some other place, from some other website, because again, it was very well tailored, almost as if it came from another website or something.
But the site that you were building was not a generic site either. It was pretty specific to.
It's a service. It's
providing video production service, but on a specific topic too.
Yeah, but that's not too far out, right? It could be generic. Some of it is generic. I mean, video production in general is a generic service, right? People can provide, but I don't know. I was shocked. I was really surprised at how well it was put together. So
plus the speed. I mean, I think the speed is always impressive.
Couple seconds.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
you can see it in real time. It just populates the screen, and there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I was still having it write creative backstories for some of my Dungeons and Dragons characters, and the stuff it came up with was pretty cliched.
Yeah,
and formulaic, which means they probably scanned from how many hundreds of movie plots and books and things like that.
That's how I would describe it.
Yeah.
Like the results that we got.
Yeah.
Although it's very well written, at the same time, it did seem very, like I've seen this somewhere.
Template-ish.
Yeah.
Like from a template or from a formulaic approach.
Right.
But if you can add your voice to that, then you've made it better.
Right.
And then it feels more unique.
Yeah.
But that's what we've been saying all along with a lot of these things. It might not win the Pulitzer Prize for creative writing, but it could help you get a jump start on stuff.
It gets the job done.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of speed, I wanted to bring up this other story. Amazon has launched a new array of AI and robotics capabilities into its warehouse operations. It's doing this to try to reduce delivery times and help identify inventory more quickly. And basically, it's going to change the way that Amazon moves products through its fulfillment centers with new AI-equipped sortation machines and robotic arms. It is also set to alter how many of the company's vast army of workers do their jobs. They've said they're not getting rid of people for this, but that basically people will be doing the things that robots can't. And so don't worry, like this is not a robots versus jobs versus AI kind of a story.
Yeah.
what I'm going to tell you what Amazon was doing in their warehouses. So in 2015 they bought a company called Kiva Systems, and Kiva Systems had these little small portable mobile robots that were about this high, and they have wheels on them. And what they would do was they have a little hydraulic lift thing that lifts up and picks up this large rack of products. So you imagine a column of, like, see your rack over here.
Right.
So shrink that by half, and then you've got like 6 or 7 bins stacked up. So what these would do is that in a warehouse, these mobile robots would go and pick up one of these, and then it would deliver it to someone who then picks the item and then packs it into a box. And then the mobile robot would go back to the area until someone orders, until the next order that has one of those products in it. And those have been pretty successful, but now they're taking an approach of more of a warehouse where these robot arms are going to be picking the products, and then the carts are going to be moved on a conveyor, and then it's going to get stored, and then the robot is going to pick up the cart and put it away. So I think that humans will still be involved in the packing part of it, although I think they're looking at some options there on packing, because that is still a trick for a lot of these robot arms. People can still pick items and pack them faster than a robot can. But for the sortation and the delivery from the warehouse area or the storage area to the main part, it's still going to be it's now a new design for Amazon.
Well, so this is something they've obviously have already been doing, utilizing robots and stuff. They're just doing it more.
They're just and the interesting part from my brain was that it feels like they're doubling down on the speed of delivery as the most important part of the online commerce transaction for a lot of people. I put a question on our poll about what is more important to you, whether speed or price is more important. Let me see if I can bring that up.
I'd say price.
You say price.
Personally.
Yeah, and I say I as well. I think price is a little bit more important.
I mean, haven't Amazon's shipping prices gone up?
Well, that's part of the whole lawsuit that the FTC is claiming that they're using its monopoly power to keep the prices a lot higher.
Yeah.
Whereas then Amazon says, well, we're facing pricing challenges from companies like Shein and Temu in China, or those China-based e-commerce sites. So that's where I think we're at now. Let me just check something from our. All right, when online shopping, what is more important to you? And I gave people 2 choices: price or speed of delivery. Price 75%, speed of delivery 25%. Yeah. So in this case, it feels like Amazon doubling down on speed of delivery might not make a difference to a lot of people. Remember that purple hoodie I had on a couple of shows ago where it was the guy from One Piece? Mm-hmm. I ordered that from Temu. Again, Temu is this rabbit hole of weird products. It's like a premium version of Wish. I don't know if you've ever seen Wish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know of it.
So what Temu does is it's promising really, really low prices because they're all using vendors from China and Japan and Asia, but you have to be willing to wait 2 weeks to get the items.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I felt that sweatshirt. That was like tissue paper.
It was also a tissue paper hoodie.
Because I feel like you're also going to compromise on quality, I think.
Little bit.
Depending on the product.
A little bit. I mean,
that sweatshirt was, yikes.
But if you don't care, I mean, for me, it was more of, I don't necessarily care about quality. I haven't washed it yet, so we'll see if it survives a washing machine visit and journey. I should have added, actually, maybe I'll do another poll and add quality of the products too.
Well, that would also depend on the company they buy the products from.
Right.
Because Amazon's just a vendor at that point. For the most part.
And again, Amazon has now added all of their third-party marketplace people, and that's part of what that lawsuit was about. Was, are they charging these vendors? You got to pay to play. You got to pay money to us so that we put your products in our search engine higher up than what they do with other products.
Yeah.
There are times when I'm shopping on Amazon, and after I do my search for whatever product I'm looking for, I will then hit the Prime button and have it sort out all of the vendors that can't deliver the 1 day or 2 day delivery. Because at that point, I've made up my mind I want it faster. But for I don't know, maybe cheap impulse buys that I don't care about when I get that item, as long as it's before a certain date. I'm willing to wait a couple weeks if I can get $5 to $10 or even more off of that.
Yeah, cheap.
Like that sweatshirt was $12, where I'm
Right.
paying 25 to 30 for one of these types of hoodies.
Yeah, cheap impulse buys, Keith. Are you telling us you're a hoarder?
I'm not. Well, if you ever came to my house, you would think we were, but it's not
I'm just
necessarily me. So you don't feel the same way that I do about Amazon potentially making a mistake by doubling down on speed.
I mean, I think their shipping is fast enough. Like, I don't think they're just trying to increase their profits by making it faster.
Their profit margins are surprisingly lower than you would think.
I don't think they're going to gain. They're not going to gain that much from it. I mean, what? They're not going to decrease their shipping prices. You think? You think they would decrease their shipping cost if they could speed up?
Well, they kind of pass it along through this Amazon Prime membership, so you don't necessarily think about the shipping costs.
True. Yeah, that's true. That's right.
They've sort of hidden those fees. If you got rid of Amazon Prime and then started paying again for shipping, you might realize.
Yeah, you're right.
How expensive it is.
Yeah. And
it's never the mid part of the journey or even the first. It's that last mile.
Yeah.
It's that, so if I live in Central Mass, there's a distribution center somewhere that they're hoping the product comes from. It's because they want to spread out these distribution centers so that if I order a hoodie from Amazon, they're hoping that it's located at this center in Central Massachusetts rather than the one that's in South Carolina. That's where it gets tricky, is where do you put the product? And that's where they've got data and analytics, and they know that people in the Northeast are probably going to order more hoodies than in South Carolina. So the hoodie is, they move the hoodies to the cold areas and things like that. That's just one example.
Yeah, no, it definitely gets into logistics. It's a lot of logistics.
That's a great point,
I don't know
man.
that much of, but you're probably right. You're probably right.
All right, so let's move on to another topic. We're still, I can't believe that this story is even still exists. Wall Street Journal, the bastion of trying to get people back into an office.
It's that story.
Yes, this is the come in 3 days or just quit. Some companies are giving remote workers an ultimatum. We've covered this ad nauseum. I'm kind of sick of this topic, but it is very interesting to see the pendulum swing back and forth between employees and employers.
It's interesting to see companies put their foot down.
Well, yes, I know that you are.
For sure.
You're in favor of people coming back to the office.
Well,
at least 3 days a week.
At least 3 days, but I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. I just feel like this is the reality. Yeah. It's going to be 50-50.
So So video game company Roblox on Tuesday gave most of its employees an ultimatum: start working in the office 3 days a week, or take a severance package. So the gauntlet has been dropped, or the gantlet has been dropped.
Right.
And so any of these tactics of, okay, we're going to get tough. Okay, we're going to get tough. And then companies decided, well, we're not going to get that tough. Now apparently they are. And when you read the story, you see all the different companies that where they've been able to track who's forcing people. So they started with Roblox because that was the most recent memo.
And you got
Amazon, Apple, Google. For some reason, Grindr. Which,
yeah, that's interesting.
JP Morgan Chase, which is finance, and that's where my mortgage is, and Meta, Facebook, Tesla, SpaceX, obviously, because Elon doesn't believe in remote work, apparently. So a lot of these are tech companies that are doing this, and they still they feel that having employees in gives you that collaboration, teamwork, seeing people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, there's pros and cons to working in office and working at home. And I think there are certain jobs that rely more on you being in person than not. And for the companies, like I said, for the companies that are putting their foot down and having people come back into work, it's like, okay, that's good. And for the people who don't want to, it's like, well, find another job. I don't know.
Yeah, but there are the trend towards companies even allowing remote or full-time remote work in their new hires is going away. I think most of the jobs that you see,
They're going to be hybrid.
they might be hybrid, or they might just say, no, you got to be in the office, or you have to be at least 3 days a week.
Right.
I did, so earlier this month, I was in on Wednesdays. So I did an event here on, I think it was October 4th. Or was it last week? It was last week where I came in and I hosted a virtual AI summit for our events group. And the additional 1 day, so the commute on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it wiped me out. I do like having that Wednesday where I work at home. So I'm more of a 2 day or a 2.5 day type of person.
Yeah.
But again, it's because of this. The most irritating thing for me right now is the commute. It's just with more and more people coming back, the bad commute that we had pre-pandemic is it's just bad. Even today, I mean, this is a Thursday that we're recording this. It was an hour because there was an accident on the Mass Pike, and that slows everything down.
Could you imagine what traffic was like pre-pandemic?
I remember, well, like from where I would live to where we are now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was probably a full hour. Well, at least.
I think our perception would be different because I think because like traffic back then, it was just normal. It was just normal, and you kind of, you acclimate to it, right? But since we've had all this time of working at home, and now we're looking back, you know what I mean? Now we're like, oh wow, the traffic's bad. It's like, well, we probably would think differently if we asked our younger self pre-pandemic. I think they probably would say, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean?
The best part of stories like this are when you go to the comment section of the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, for sure.
And so the one that's most likely after, for the top comment for most liked. Now I know which companies to never work for. And then someone replies, and which will never hire you. And then, it's just like, oh my God, it's just like this back and forth. Comment threads should just go away. I mean, it's entertaining for me as a reader.
Right.
But for the most part, it's just people bickering with each other. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, some of these people's takes, like, like my gut response, the bosses feel less secure when they can't see the people who work for them. I would say no. I think they're concerned about the company's progress and how they're going to operate when everybody's working from home. I think there's a natural, how would I say, like nervousness. You know what I mean? Because I think they're just thinking about themselves when you have the CEOs and the C-suite level people thinking about the company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, and then so speaking of the Wall Street Journal, there's another story that came out this week, which is again another head scratcher. So this was in I think their workplace section. So the quote is, "I just wasn't in the mood to work. American employees are reinventing the sick day." Actually, that was that was a revised headline. The initial one was, "Bosses have a problem. People are actually using sick days." Do you have that? Do you have that up on your screen?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So U.S. workers have long viewed an unwillingness to take sick days as a badge of honor. Workers are now caring much less about that these days. The number of sick days Americans take annually has soared since the pandemic, and this is according to employee payroll data. COVID-19 and a rise in illnesses such as RSV, which can require days away from work, are one reason. Managers and human resources executives also attribute the jump to a bigger shift in the way many Americans relate to their job. So you can see there, the little chart there are the types of employees who took sick leave, and you can see that in 2020 it was down because here's the funny part: everyone was at home,
right,
during most of the pandemic. And so, of course, you're not taking sick days because you're already home.
Well, it's also, I would also argue some of that would be also vacation time because, again, if you're home, I feel like people would be using less vacation time as well. Not as much as sick time.
Right.
But there might be a little.
There's an interesting part of the sick day part or the vacation part was that a lot of companies, and again, I've been in the workplace for a few decades here, and I've seen trends in how employers are treating sick days. And I think the first job I had, you were only given 3 sick days, and you were given maybe 2 weeks of vacation, or you had to work your way up to the 2 weeks, or you had to work your way up into the multiple ones. And then at some point, everyone said, this tracking is ridiculous. Let's just give you 3 weeks of any time off. And then if you want to take it as a vacation, if you want to take it as a sick day, if you want to take it as a personal day, just do it. And there were companies in the early .com boom that didn't even track. They just said, if you don't feel like coming in, just don't come in, just because I think they realized that they were working their employees like 50, 60, 70 hours a week anyway, and without, overtime.
Yeah.
So they probably figured, well, we'll throw this work whenever you feel like you need a break into that, and, touting that as a benefit. But now I guess people are...
It can be abused also.
Yes, just like everything. You can either take advantage of it or abuse it or not use it. But I do think it was interesting that the badge of honor thing, there was a part in that story where a guy was like, he was probably in my age group where you were thought of, if you took a sick day, that you were thought of as less of an employee.
Right.
And so he would come in when he was sick or injured, and in the end he got laid off anyway. And so he was like, well, now I'll just take a sick day if I'm sick, or if I'm not feeling like it, I'll just say, I'm not going to work. So
Personally, I think I have 2 weeks worth of sick time.
Right.
Because I never take a sick time.
Well,
I have no need because I'm working from home.
There are companies that if there's a union involved, where the sick days have to carry over.
Yeah.
And my stepmother-in-law, or my wife's stepmother, was working. She was working for a public school system. They had a union, and they had one of these things where she basically was paid 7 weeks or even like 3 months of sick time when she retired, because it was all the stuff that had accrued because she'd never taken any of these sick days. So you just get this big lump of money that they have to pay you at the end.
Right.
I think IDG had a carryover sick day policy at one point.
I think it's,
or is it, I don't know if you guys still have it or not, but it was like 5 to 10. It was like 5 extra days you could carry over.
I think so.
Yeah. And so
it's the floating holidays you can't.
Right. You couldn't. Right. Floating holiday. So I think Veterans Day was a floater at one point. But again, with a couple of ownership changes, I think those policies keep changing as well. But I remember thinking that I could always take those extra 5 days of sick days, and eventually it turns into a week of vacation. But then you would lose it. If you used it, then you were back to square one the next year. So you ended up just carrying over every year. And of course, by the end of the year, if you haven't used up stuff that you have to use or lose it, you get people, you never see half of the people in December because they're all using it up. I think you're going to be in that case again this year.
I have to.
Yeah.
I have to use like 2 weeks of my time off in December. Otherwise,
you're going to have to.
You just lose it.
You're going to have to keep that whole system booted up and just tell me what buttons to press, and I'll just do my podcast by myself.
And I've been doing this for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Because I don't take time off. I should.
I know.
I need to.
Is it a mental thing where you feel like you just can't relax, or like this is our therapy session here, Chris? Why do you not take time off that has been given to you by your company?
Well, okay. So granted, I should take more time off.
Right.
I need to.
I know one of the reasons.
I should take more time off, but it's like when you're working in, your passion field, you're not really working.
You're doing what you love, and this is what you love, Chris, right?
It's like I'm getting paid to do this, so why do I need to take time off? I'm enjoying myself.
Right.
So, but granted, I need to take more time off. I need to see the sun. I need to get out, walk, move around, see places.
I think that now that you have a daughter,
yeah,
you will start appreciating more time off than maybe you did before when it was just you and your wife, or if,
Right.
when you were single.
It's
You will start appreciating sick time more, just based on my experience from having the kids, and it was nice to be able to take the same week off that they would have off
Right.
for school vacation. Although by the time they're older, then you want to, when they're on vacation, you want to be like, I'm going to work. I'm going to be as far away from you guys as possible.
Yeah, no, exactly.
There's a window of 4 to 5 years when you really appreciate your kids. All right. So I guess the bottom line is, Chris, take that time off, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically not going to be working in December.
We want you to be stress free.
You're on your own in December.
Take a few days in November as well.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a story that's true and dear to both of our hearts because we are both gamers. Apparently, Netflix is now testing streaming games to US TVs to take on. Nope, not that one.
Oh wait, did you send that? Send that?
I did. It's
here
in the
we go.
Slack channel.
I got it. There we go.
We gave away our final story. All right, so Netflix is testing streaming games to US TVs to take on PlayStation and Xbox. Oh, that's hilarious. All right. Netflix is expanding its games streaming beta to the US, the company announced in an update on a blog post. The feature, which lets you play games streamed from the cloud on devices like your TV or a computer, launched first in August in Canada and the UK. Netflix said that this was a limited beta test, so it seems like this won't be available to too many people initially. Like with the original test, there are only 2 games available to do this with. A game called Oxenfree from Netflix's own Night School studio, and another game entitled Molehue's Mining Adventure. So these are not AAA titles that they're talking about yet. The first thing I thought was, okay, this is weird if they're not going to allow you to use a gaming controller like they did with some of these other services. If you do have access to the service, what you have to do is you need to download Netflix's special controller app for your phone or Android device to play the game on your TV, because nothing says more exciting controller than using your phone or a tablet. And then it'll only work on select devices, including Amazon Fire TV devices, Chromecast with Google TV, Roku devices and TVs, and more. And then on the web, you can play the games with a mouse and keyboard. All right, Chris, tell me why this is the world's worst idea. Or do you even need to explain?
No, I mean, if you're going to play a game, it's either going to be on your Xbox, your PlayStation, your Switch,
or a computer,
or you got a PC.
Yeah.
The only games I can think of that might be worth playing on Netflix is like party games, like party trivia games.
Yep.
Which I'm pretty sure they did have.
Did they?
I think they did have like a trivia game on
I think
Netflix.
you could play on your Netflix account. You could, I think, play Trivia Crack.
I think that
which is an app that you can play on your phone.
Okay. But again, I think, personal opinion, I think it's going to fail.
Right.
Because again, if you want to play a game, you have your outlets for that. Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, PC, you have your outlets for that. I don't think they're really thinking about the audience.
Yeah.
Maybe they're thinking of just the general audience,
I think they're
aren't really gamers.
I think they're thinking of that party game experience that you mentioned.
Yeah, like a trivia party.
We played a bunch of Jackbox games, the people that made You Don't Know Jack, and those, there's a bunch of fun party type games that you can play there. I've done this with my family, but all of us were in the same room. But there are some fun Pictionary type games that you can play. And we did this through our PlayStation. So we've got the PlayStation on, you get the big TV, and then your phone becomes, this is where I draw my picture now.
Oh, that's got to be difficult.
No, it's not too hard. You do it with your finger. It's not. Yeah, I mean the drawing.
I like old school Pictionary.
The drawings suck. I mean, but again, it's designed for that next generation that has this phone. Like we tried, if I tried pen and paper Pictionary with my family, trying to get them into the dining room to play a game, they wouldn't do it. But if I said, all right, we're going to go on the computer, or we're going to go on the TV and play some games, they might do it. But I don't know. I don't understand why Netflix has to think that it has to be in this space.
I mean, we saw what happened with Google Stadia, and that was their cloud-based gaming platform.
And they had a controller.
Yeah, they had a controller.
So they were trying to do it with the AAA games.
But that's the thing, and if you think about it, Netflix it's also going to be cloud based. So again, it's going to depend on your internet speed, your up and down. So again, they're only going to be able to host maybe low bandwidth games unless they've caught up in the cloud with processing for games.
I feel like every time I think about my internet connection, I feel like I'm usually ahead of the curve. Although my up and down speeds are not the high end where I could be, but they're also the same up and the same down because I'm on FiOS. I'm on the fiber optic, whereas I was in a discussion group the other day and saw that another internet company that was still based on cable was trying to get people to switch, and you realize that you would get really great download speeds but really awful upload speeds. And I was like, well, I'm not going to give up my, I think I'm at 100 at this point because it's really nice to upload videos to, a server or YouTube from your house. It's a lot faster.
The one only other thing I am interested in this Netflix venture into gaming is if we look here at the bottom, it has discussions with Take-Two about licensing a game from the Grand Theft Auto series. I'm curious as to what that's going to be about.
What is interesting too is that Netflix has taken a lot of its original programs, like you said, that it's got franchises like Squid Game, Wednesday, Extraction, Black Mirror, and right. They building games from that. Yeah, that might be cool.
But again, how they're going to pull that off?
I know game development is so different from
early 2000s
or TV development.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think maybe Microsoft will do something. Although I think, again, you and I have talked about this on the show as well. Cloud gaming, I think, is coming. I just don't know what it's going to look like and what company is going to dominate it or win at it. Because everyone right now is tied down to the hardware that they like. I mean, correct?
Yes. I mean, we can say EVs are coming.
Right.
How many of us are driving EVs?
Yeah, I know. Well, you've got to be optimistic about the future and talk about technologies that someday we might have.
But I mean,
you know what else is coming soon, Chris? Flying cars.
Sure.
And time machines, I heard, are coming at some point. We're all going to have DeLoreans, and we're all going to be able to change the time.
Sure.
Change the past.
What's the point I was just about to make?
I'm sorry,
Keith. See, this is what happens.
This is why I'm a crappy host. It'll come back to you.
Yeah, it'll come back
in a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so EVs.
Yes.
Right. And how many of us are driving EVs? I think what's going to happen is they're going to put their focus on the wrong thing. Because I think we have to have the infrastructure first. Right. To have the cloud structure first.
Yeah, I see
with
the analogy.
EVs.
Yeah.
We're going to crank out EVs. We just saw an article, either it was today or yesterday or the day before. I think it might have been yesterday. I don't know. But the Ford F-150 Lightning.
Yeah.
They didn't sell.
Yep. And even Elon Musk
as much as they thought they were going to sell.
Surprised. Even Elon Musk, who...
I think he did that. He's just trolling.
I think
he knew Ford wasn't going to sell a lot of Ford F-150 Lightnings because look at the Cybertruck. How many Cybertrucks did he sell? If that's what it's called.
He's not selling a lot.
He's not selling a lot at all.
Yeah.
Because I think the market for people who want
pickup trucks, right,
are not going to spend that amount of money on a truck, right? So I think, again, Netflix is going to focus on the games. Like, we got to get the games out. We got to get 5, 6, 7, 8 games to start, but the infrastructure is not going to be there. Does everybody have gigabit internet speed?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're not aiming high with the super high end. Like, they're not putting out Cyberpunk 2077 on Netflix.
Sure. But it's something to think about. All
right. So speaking of hardware that people probably don't need or don't want, I know our audience isn't interested, but I'm still fascinated by this idea. Meta a few weeks ago came out with its Quest 3 headset, and they also came out with those smart Ray-Ban sunglasses. This was a great story in The Verge this week. Go back up to the headline. which is the Meta glass holes have arrived. You are a little bit too young to remember this. I'm not sure if this was happening while you may have been still in school, but when Google Glass came out,
No,
you remember Google Glass, right? Those were the glasses that had a little thing in front of it, and it was a little tiny monitor, and you could record video and things like that.
yeah.
Right?
I think I was working here. When
No, you had just started. Like there was a craze, and then it went away, and then we started focusing on other
2014,
things.
2015?
Yeah, it was that 2014, 2013 time frame when
yeah.
Google Glass came out. So Google's strategy to try to get people to use this was to hand them out or send review copies to the Silicon Valley journalist community that was loved by the Silicon Valley Google people. Okay. And so one of those, the people that did this, that got one of these things, was a guy named Robert Scoble. I think he's still around. He still does all this internet stuff, and he's still a luminary in Silicon Valley. But he basically ruined the whole Google Glass movement by taking a picture of himself in the shower.
Oh,
Do you want
geez.
to? Did I send you that photo? It's in the link there or do you want me to Slack that to you?
Just Slack it.
Okay. Shoot. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, do we really want to see him naked in the shower?
It's from the head up. It's like let me.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, hold on. Here you go. It's a BuzzFeed story. Which is great because this BuzzFeed story was this photo of a man showering with Google Glass will haunt you for the rest of your life. Okay, so that's the picture. So that's Robert Scoble. And apparently he was still doing it because he got a pair of Snapchat goggles a few years ago and he did the same thing because he thought that would then funny. But a lot of people basically say that that ruined the idea of using these VR glasses. So this was a decade ago. So now what people are finding, all right, let's not watch him anymore. Okay. Go back to the other Verge story. So the term was glass hole, and that was someone who's an a-hole, but because they're wearing these things in public. So the Meta 3 comes out, and you can see a picture of the guy there, and I think that's in a mirror. Mm-hmm. So the little tablet thing where the guy's watching the Spider-Man animated movie, the most recent one. So that's the virtual display, and I think he was either in an elevator or waiting for an elevator or something like that, and so that's where they got that image from. But someone also then went to a coffee shop. If you go down and scroll to that video, just play that video. This is now a video of a guy going into a coffee shop. And again, that's the virtual display. So this is the augmented reality feature of the headset. And then he goes and he orders a coffee.
Okay, hold on a minute.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to unwrap here.
Like, okay, you're holding.
You're not
with your virtual hand. With your virtual hand,
Yep.
You're holding this screen.
Yep.
That looks like a tablet, and it's
Yep.
like, well, what's the difference between this and holding your phone in front of your face?
Well,
Like what's being depicted here.
I know. Keep playing.
Like, are we?
Okay, so now this is what the other people see.
Yeah, they see
So
a man.
they see a guy wearing this
around.
giant headset. And then, yeah, this is then him ordering the coffee. Now, some people say that this was kind of a stunt, and the owner was happy. The owner of the coffee shop was fine because he's thinking it's going to give him some more customers.
But like again, just look at your phone. Like look down at your phone. Why bother putting on this headset? And
So there was another guy who walked around New York Comic Con with the headset on, and he was recording clips of strangers along the way while wearing it. He also was mentioning some technical stuff about warping happens when things are close to the headset. It wasn't that bad in terms of feeling disoriented, but what made things bad was when the HMD couldn't find an anchor for tracking. The effect was the video feed jumping back and forth or side to side. When it got bad, Quest bumped me back to the virtual environment. So people are testing it, but to the outside world, you just look like an idiot. You just look like,
yeah,
somebody that shouldn't be wearing these things.
I mean, maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Maybe just I'm just not the right audience for this AR, VR stuff.
Yeah. And I think most people, I mean, again, this is a feeling that most people aren't really interested in this. Even using these things in their home, they're not ready for it. And when Apple comes out and says, "Well, pay us $3,500 and we'll give you one of these things," it's like, but you're not going to be going outside with it. You're not going to be. This is the guy waiting for the elevator,
Right.
while watching the movie. Now, what's interesting is that I think when Meta made the announcement, because they also have sunglasses that do this, and so you won't have this giant thing over your face. Instead, you'll just be wearing sunglasses, and it'll be able to record video. But I don't think you're going to have the augmented reality part of it. I might be wrong there too. And I guess concern. So what pissed off a lot of people 10 years ago was this idea of well, you're invading my privacy, or you're recording without my consent, or there's all of these different legal issues. For the most part, most states, I think, and in the federal government says that if you're in a public place, you have no expectation of privacy. So whatever you do out in public, you can be recorded. And since over the last 10 years, so many people now have phones and are recording all the time anyway, that if you're in a public space, you're going to be recorded, whether it's a security camera or just someone with their phone, or social media TikTokers all the time. They're going to be doing stupid things. So, that whole argument about privacy is out the window. So maybe people will be more tolerant of all these goofballs just walking around with these giant things on their head.
Yeah. Jeez.
Like, this is what leads to dystopian.
Again, because like when you look at it, it's like
worlds.
If you look how the users are using the headset, they're using it to multitask in front of them, but it's like, you could just multitask with your phone. I mean, we already have a device that does that, right? It's our phone. You take out your phone, you look at it, you got apps and internet on it. And again, maybe it's just me.
And then you walk into a bus because you're paying attention to your phone instead of walking on the street and paying attention.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe in a few years, we're all going to be walking around a city street and we're going to be seeing all these people that either have the sunglasses on or they're going to be wearing these dopey ass headsets.
I think
one of them, I really want to buy one of these.
I think the Matrix is becoming very, very plausible today.
So maybe we really are living in a simulation, dude.
Very soon.
Yeah.
We will be.
Yeah. We'll be, and then WALL-E happens and we're all going to be sitting in these chairs and you and I are just going to have conversations and we might not even be in the same room and we might have a virtual studio. Who knows?
We'll be eating the bugs and we're going to like it.
Exactly. All right, Chris, thanks for catching us up on the news this week.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. That's all the time we have for today's episode. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, add any comments below. Are we living in a virtual scenario system and we're all going to be VR headsetted for the rest of our lives? Just add those below. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.